The Cell Saga of Dragon Ball Z continues off where the Android Saga left off, and our characters find a cocoon next to a spaceship that Trunks was on at some point, but despite it being the exact same spaceship that Trunks was on before, the characters are wondering what's happening. Who does this really belong to? Why is there a cocoon with a bug? Then they discover that bug is an android named Cell who's trying to absorb all the androids to try and become his perfect self. And so he's trying to absorb all the humans and the androids, and when he eventually is going to do that, he's going to wreak havoc and destroy the entire world. And our heroes Goku and his friends must find a way to stop him. This is a very significant and important moment in Dragon Ball Z. This is where all of the characterizations, for the most part for these characters, came to their natural conclusion. With Gohan, with Goku, with Vegeta, Tien, Piccolo, it has all come ahead to here, to where we find out that Cell is actually an android created by Dr. Gero in secret, as he's trying to create an organic android life form, and now he's going to continue on his master's wishes to defeat and kill Goku. And Cell, in my opinion, is a really formidable antagonist and one of my favorites in the entire franchise. He is a guy that's able to use all the powers and techniques that is to his disposal here. And he has all the genes of Frieza, Vegeta, Goku, Piccolo, and he's able to use all those techniques against his opponents. And it makes it in a way where the characters are literally fighting themselves in a way. And it just so happens that this being is basically indestructible to the point where even Goku doesn't think that he's able to defeat Cell. And when you get that kind of reaction from the main character, you know that you're in some deep shit. And Cell proves that with his many fight sequences against Piccolo, against the androids Krillin, Vegeta, and Trunks. It is great to see our heroes trying to defeat them either one-on-one or in a team effort. And a lot of these fights you hope would end up good, because many of the Z fighters have some really great moments to shine here. Especially Piccolo, Tien, even Krillin has a little episode to where he's trying to save a family and is fighting up against imperfect Cell, and he puts up a pretty formidable fight against him despite the odds not being in his favor. It makes this entire saga feel like it has a lot more tension, and I really like how it gave a lot of the Z fighters their proper time to shine and to prove themselves worthy of being part of this world, being able to save as many people as they can. And I just really liked how much importance was put on these guys, because a lot of the time in this saga, in the last saga, the Android Saga, Goku's not present because he, his son, Vegeta, Piccolo, and everyone had to take turns in the hyperbolic time chamber to try and train up and defeat Cell. But because that takes up quite a bit of time, it gives Cell as many opportunities as he can to absorb as many people as he could to reach his perfect form and to absorb the androids, which he eventually does. And that is due to the hubris of Vegeta and him thinking now that he is a Super Saiyan built up like a bodybuilder. No, he doesn't have the same techniques or strength or speed necessary. Yeah, I mean, he does have the strength, but speed, as well as the same mistake Trunks made in that regard, is not enough to try and defeat Cell. And both of them eventually succumb to their hubris and fail to defeat him. And Krillin not being able to use the detonator that Bulma gave him to destroy Android 18 because he now has feelings for her also led to their failure. And so to really it's the morals of these characters, and when it comes to that failed their mission to try and stop Cell. And when he reaches his perfect form, he wants to hold up a tournament called the Cell Games. And now the characters need to train even harder for the next few days to try and defeat him. But Goku and Gohan just want to chill. And this leads to some of my favorite filler material in all of Dragon Ball Z. It is of Goku and his son and family all trying to live their best life in these next few days, just trying to relax, be a good family. Goku is letting Gohan study for his wife's sake. He's trying to be there as a father for both his wife and kid. He eventually made Goten, and this to me speaks a whole lot about Goku's character. Just trying to do the best he can in such dire situations. Even in such dark times, he still worries about his friends, worries about his family. We even get a few callbacks from characters like Tao from the original Dragon Ball Saga, and it led to a lot of genuinely good moments, like Gohan and Goku going fishing with Krillin, or Goku and Gohan just hanging out together in the house with Chi-Chi as they reminisce on some old memories. It is all genuinely good stuff that made the next part of this Cell Saga, the final battle, feel a lot more impactful. Because now you understand these characters a whole lot more and understand what they're fighting for. And once the Cell games eventually start, it becomes so cathartic to see Goku just go at it against Cell, seeing what he has gone through, what he has to lose, and you're just rooting for Goku to try and beat him. And the fight sequence between these two titans is incredible. The animation, the fluidity of the movements, the stakes given to this fight sequence, and how it's a tournament style thing is just fantastic. We also have Mr. Satan, who is a martial arts champion that won the last tournament, the World Martial Arts Tournament, and is thinking that he could go up against Cell. He just doesn't know that Cell is just much stronger than him, and because he's an alien, it's no wonder why Satan wasn't able to defeat him. But what I also love was how he's not just a joke character. He eventually has to do the human thing at some point and fight in a different way to help our heroes against Cell. Because once Goku eventually gives up his fight against Cell, he hands off the job to his son Gohan, because when they were fighting the Hyperbolic Time Chamber, it's not just so that Goku could be stronger, it's so that Gohan can unlock his true potential, which leads to Gohan trying to fight against Cell, but not understanding or coming up with a reason why he's not able to really unlock his full power. I mean, he's able to turn Super Saiyan now, but that is still not enough to defeat Cell. And you're wondering what's going to happen. Goku threw his son in the ring and he's getting pummeled. He threw a senzu bean at Cell, thinking that it could, be a prideful thing for his son. Like, even at full power Cell, he cannot go up against his son. But then he realizes that he might have made a mistake putting his son in the ring, because he realized that he's not a fighter like him. Yeah, he's his son, but he has his own wants and needs in life, and Goku didn't realize that until it's too late. But this is a situation also where if they all lose, that future that Gohan or what Chi-Chi wants for her son is not going to happen. So it is a double-edged sword of conflict no matter how you put it. The characters are always put in very tough situations, and that is what I really love about the saga. How it challenges the characters of even Goku and who they are as people, and how it further develops their character throughout the story. But once Satan was able to throw Android 16's head to Gohan. You know, I forgot to talk about when Android 16 had to sacrifice himself to save everyone because he eventually realizes that they are the only ones who could have a chance to stop Cell. So he wants to team up with them. And he's the most peaceful of all the androids. That's why we see him not fight constantly against the heroes, because he's just focused on the peace of the world. And so he tells Gohan that that is what matters the most at this moment now. That it's not sin to fight against these people in these situations. It's not sin to eventually have to understand that they're just those who cannot be reasoned with. So Cell crushes his head, which then triggers Gohan to transform into Super Saiyan 2 and just manhandle Cell. And this entire sequence was just incredible. Seeing Gohan deflect Cell's Kamehameha and just being able to kick him hard enough to spit out 18 to where he's now in his second form. It is great, but Goku had to sacrifice himself because Cell was going to explode all of Earth, and he eventually gave his life to save his son and to save the entire world. This is the second time Goku has died, and in Dragon Ball rules, that is it. That's all you can do for the characters, unless you go to Namek. This drives Gohan to try and stop Cell again even further, but Cell kills Trunks, pissing off Vegeta. Throughout this entire saga, Vegeta is very much angry about his son and how weak or incompetent he thinks he is. How he is really a lesser of himself. He's not wanting to accept him as a son, even though he is a Saiyan, despite everything he's been through. He's just not ready for a family, for being a father. He's conflicted of two worlds. His Saiyan heritage, his past, or who he is starting to have part in his life right now, and how he's starting to become a changed man. And that's conflicted within his fights against Cell, and how he's trying to prove himself to be better than Kakarot, to prove himself to be the best, but eventually comes up short. Why? Because he lost everything. Cell is not someone that destroyed his entire life to his point of view. He's just using Cell as an excuse to uplift his ego. And when he realizes that he actually does love his son deep down, that triggers so much anger within him to where he just explodes on Cell, and leads to one of my favorite moments for the character Vegeta, when he starts blasting Cell away with all these blasts, where even Cell is a bit surprised by that. But even that doesn't work, which leads to a Kamehameha fight against Gohan and Cell. There's even some filler material where the heroes, the Z Fighters, all tried to help Gohan out in this fight, and it makes them be more important to the story, to the fight. Shows how much they're willing to sacrifice themselves for everything. And I really like this change from the manga to the anime. It's one of my favorite changes, and it further motivates Vegeta to go up against Cell, because these are some weaker characters than he is. He could manhandle all the Z Fighters, but they still chose to fight against Cell. And he's just standing there in fear and in more conflict, until he decides to blast Cell so hard with one final ki blast to where he now has Cell distracted, which gives Gohan the opportunity to blast Cell away and finally defeat him. And the Bruce Faulkner music in this scene was just perfect. I loved it. Overall, this was a fantastic cathartic fight that brings all of our characters full circle to the original Dragon Ball and even the beginning of Z, to the end of the Cell Saga, it was a great bookend for the characters. They're able to bring everyone back except Goku because he wants to stay dead, fearing that it will cause more trouble on Earth if he comes back to life. So he decides to stay dead for the sake of the Earth and his family. And it leads to a bittersweet ending where Trunks is able to defeat the androids in his future now and save everyone. All the Z fighters are now living good lives, and the saga comes to an end there. The Cell Saga is fantastic. Despite the Android Saga being jumbled in terms of switching stories and villains, it could be a bit messy. It creates a lot of good mystery, and that continues on when we try to discover who Cell is. And when we see all of our characters have their character arcs closing in this saga, it makes it a very fulfilling saga. Cell isn't as compelling of a villain as Frieza, but he poses a great formidable threat to our characters and is still charismatic and evil enough to have an identity of his own, to where I find myself really enjoying him on screen more so at times than Frieza. He just has a certain personality to him that makes him so interesting and fun to watch. Characters of Goku, Vegeta, and especially Gohan are absolutely fantastic here. A lot of the fights here are some of the best in all of Dragon Ball. This saga is legitimately incredible. And if you are a fan of Dragon Ball Z, I highly recommend you guys go check out this saga whenever you can. It is such a roller coaster of an anime, and I can honestly watch many of these moments and individual episodes all day if I can. So with that being said, I'm going to give the Cell Saga of Dragon Ball Z an A. Thank you guys so much for watching. Please leave a like, subscribe, comment, and I will see you guys next time.